This is an important moment here, knowing that the existing legislation, the Stock Act, is rarely enforced. This legislation you've brought forward has more teeth. It would, however, not require members to divest all of their holdings if they were elected and brought into Congress. Is that the biggest difference between these other bills?
There's a lot of proposals that have come forward to prevent members of Congress from profiting off of insider information. A lot of them have collected a lot of dust. The legislation that I introduced that we passed out of committee earlier today, we have commitments from leadership that's going to come to the House floor in the near future. What it does is it prevents members from profiting off of insider information using three key steps. One, members of Congress, after being elected, won't be allowed to buy new individual shares of stock. An individual that comes in with shares in their portfolio, they may hold them, they may sell them, but if they sell them, they're required to provide 7 days advanced notice. That prevents them from being able to profit off of insider information. It has real teeth associated with the bill.
You've seen the reaction from some Democrats, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She says the real bipartisan stock trading bans bill is already ready. Do not buy this scam bill being put forward by the wealthiest members of Congress. If Luna won't move the discharge petition's text, referring to the separate piece of legislation, then we can start a clean one next week. She says the majority of members and Americans support a clean stock trading ban. We have the votes on it. Don't fold now. Congressman, how would you react to her?
Well, I think it's disappointing that some members of Congress are walking away at the final hour. That said, I think when we bring it to the House floor, we're going to see overwhelming support for this common sense piece of legislation. We have strong bipartisan support and support from members like Anna Paulina Luna, who's been a champion of this broader issue for a long time. This bill strikes the balance. I think it does two key and important things. One, it does prevent members from being able to profit off of insider information, but it also makes sure that individuals who've had successful private sector careers are still able to come to Congress. I think it's important that we have an array of members that come to Congress, but once they're here, I think the American people deserve to know their member of Congress is not day trading stocks. If you want to trade stocks, you can go to Wall Street. If you're coming to Washington, I think these are reasonable and appropriate and necessary restrictions to place upon members.
And you think allowing members to keep their existing investments when they arrive in Congress does not bring an added risk or any preferential treatment in committee hearings and so forth?
Well, I think the key here is that we want to make sure individuals are still able to come to Congress who've had successful private sector careers, or maybe people just later in their life who've saved up for retirement and made a decision to invest their retirement funds in individual stocks. What we want to do is prevent them from trading to profit themselves utilizing information that they gained when they came to Congress. The 7-day advance notice does that. In many ways, it mirrors what a lot of publicly traded companies have for their C-suite executives, a 10b5-1 plan. We did this and drafted this in a slight parallel to make sure that we're preventing even the appearance of impropriety by members once they arrive here. And then we put real teeth in the bill to enforce it.
If this clears the committee, does it go to the floor?
Well, it cleared committee just a little bit ago, and we have commitments from Speaker Johnson and Leader Scalise that they're ready to move this to the floor quickly. I think as this builds momentum and comes to the floor in the weeks ahead, we're going to see more and more people coming on board supporting this legislation because it makes sense, it's common sense, and it actually has real substantive teeth to enforce it.
Congressman, I want to ask you, as a member of the Financial Services Committee as well, your thoughts on this investigation into Jay Powell. The market has given this a bit of a yawn so far, and it's unclear exactly where this is going. Do you worry that the chairman of the Fed is a criminal?
I don't have the confidential details of the investigation, but I can say two things. One, if anybody knows about lawfare, it's President Trump. And I think if he determines that somebody inside his administration is engaged in a form of lawfare, he's going to hold them accountable for that. I think the second point is that I can say for sure that in many ways this causes a distraction on our ability to reform the Fed. Chairman Powell was scheduled to come before the House Financial Services Committee to face tough questions from both sides of the aisle. And I think that missed opportunity, now that this investigation is taking place, is a missed opportunity for the American people. The sooner the investigation resolves, the sooner we can get on with the work of making real and substantive reforms to the Fed and asking the tough questions I think the American people deserve to know the answer to.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Congressman. So as you understand, there'll be no Humphrey Hawkins testimony this year?
That is my understanding, is now that there is an open investigation at some level by the United States Department of Justice. And again, I don't have those confidential details, but as reported, that Chairman Powell would not be coming before committee to answer questions while an open criminal investigation is ongoing. Again, the sooner that is resolved, the sooner we can get on with the work of real and substantive oversight, because I do think there are real reforms that we could make at the Fed to the benefit of the American people.
Congressman Steil, I've got to ask you in our remaining moment or two about crypto. We've talked about the Clarity Act before, and there's a big moment about to take place here in the Senate. But questions, I guess they're grinding through this 278-page market structure bill because there are concerns about returns, rewards, I guess I should call them, when it comes to stable coins. The old line banks have restrictions. They can't do what, for instance, a Coinbase could do in that realm. Will there be a deal on this, or if the stablecoin component came out of this bill, would it still be able to pass?
Well, there's two key pieces of legislation. As we all know, the stablecoin legislation was passed and signed into laws. The Senate now is navigating the House-passed Clarity Act, the market structure legislation. There are a handful of senators that are trying to get a second bite at the apple to finalize the text that was in stablecoin, which passed earlier, the oldest game in the book. My hope is, as the Senate banking goes to markup tomorrow, that what we do is we focus on moving through clarity, market structure, which is so absolutely essential. And hopefully any deal or resolution that is needed is completed, because getting market structure across the line is so essential to make sure that digital asset companies are investing and innovating in the United States rather than abroad.